It was late that night, the air thick with tension and the scent of olive trees. Malchus, a loyal servant to the high priest Caiaphas, moved quietly through the winding streets of Jerusalem. The city was restless. Passover was near, and rumors swirled like the desert wind. Rumors of a Galilean prophet named Jesus who stirred the crowds with his teachings, miracles, and bold claims. Caiaphas had been clear. This Jesus must be stopped. His influence is growing too fast. He's a threat to our power and the stability of our nation. Malchus had heard these words countless times. He had watched the council debate, the priests whisper in shadows, and plots form beneath the surface. Now, at last, the time had come. Judas Iscariot, one of Jesus' own followers, had offered to betray him. The high priest's guards were ready. Malchus was assigned to lead the group to arrest the man who called himself the Messiah. As they left the city under cover of darkness, Malchus tightened his cloak around him. He had no personal grudge against Jesus. He was just following orders, doing what was expected of him. After all, it wasn't his job to question the decisions of the high priest. He was just a servant. The group reached the Garden of Gethsemane, the moonlight casting long shadows among the olive trees. Malchus scanned the grove, his eyes adjusting to the dim light. Then he saw them. A small group of men gathered in prayer, their voices soft and urgent. "There he is," Judas whispered, stepping forward. He kissed Jesus on the cheek, the prearranged sign of betrayal. Malchus watched as Jesus calmly stepped forward, his eyes steady and full of something Malchus couldn't quite understand. Peace, even in the face of betrayal. "Who are you looking for?" Jesus asked. "Jesus of Nazareth," Malchus said, his voice steady. "I am he," Jesus replied. His words carried an unexpected power, and for a brief moment, it felt as though the ground itself shifted beneath their feet. Some of the guards stumbled back, their eyes wide with confusion. Malchus moved closer, reaching out to seize Jesus, when suddenly, chaos erupted. One of Jesus' disciples, a fisherman with fire in his eyes, drew a sword and lunged at him. The blade flashed in the moonlight, and before Malchus could react, a sharp pain exploded in his head. He fell to the ground, clutching the side of his face. Warm blood flowed between his fingers. His ear was gone. Panic surged through him. His breath came in ragged gasps as the world spun around him. "Am I going to die here?" The thought flashed through his mind. He could hear the shouts of the guards, the clamor of swords being drawn. Then, everything stopped. "Enough!" Jesus' voice rang out, calm yet commanding. The noise died down. Malchus looked up, his vision blurred with pain and fear. Why isn't he running? Why is he coming toward me? Jesus knelt beside him, his eyes filled with something Malchus had never seen before. Compassion. Slowly, gently, Jesus reached out and touched the side of Malchus's head. The pain vanished. Malchus gasped, his hand flying to his ear. It was whole again. The wound was gone, as if it had never happened. "He healed me." For a moment, Malchus couldn't move. His heart raced, and his mind struggled to comprehend what had just happened. This man, this so-called criminal, had just healed him even after he had come to arrest him. Jesus stood and looked at him once more, his eyes seeming to speak directly to Malchus's soul. There was no anger in them, no condemnation, only love. Malchus staggered to his feet, his hand still trembling as it touched his restored ear. The guards surged forward and seized Jesus, binding his hands. Malchus stood frozen, unable to speak or move. The group marched back toward the city, dragging Jesus with them. Malchus walked in a daze, his mind swirling with questions. Who is this man? Why did he heal me? He had come to arrest a dangerous criminal, but now he wasn't so sure. Back at the high priest's courtyard, the trial began in earnest. Accusations flew, voices rose in anger, and the crowd pressed closer. Malchus watched in silence, his heart heavy. Every word of condemnation felt like a stone in his chest. When the sentence was finally passed, death by crucifixion, Malchus felt a pang of sorrow he couldn't explain. He had been healed by the man they were about to kill. And for the first time in his life, Malchus questioned everything he had ever believed. Over the next few days, Malchus struggled with what he had witnessed. He couldn't erase the image of Jesus' eyes, the gentleness of his touch, the peace in his voice even as he was led to his death. Who was this man? Was he truly the Son of God? As some claimed, the rumors of the resurrection spread quickly. Malchus listened quietly as people whispered about the empty tomb and the appearances of Jesus to his followers. He said nothing, but deep down, something began to change. The man who once followed orders without question found himself seeking answers. He couldn't forget what had happened that night in the garden, and he couldn't ignore the quiet voice in his heart urging him to believe. Malchus's life was never the same after that night. He had gone to arrest a man, but instead he encountered mercy. He had come to destroy, but instead he was healed. In the end, Malchus's story is a powerful reminder that even in moments of betrayal and violence, God's grace is always present. He meets us in our brokenness and offers us healing, not just for our bodies, but for our hearts. And sometimes, it's in the most unexpected places that we find the truth we've been searching for all along.